Between 2022 and 2025, while global corporate AI investment more than doubled.
Yeah, and organizational adoption hit a massive 88%, right?
Right, 88%. But the employment rate for digital native Gen Z software developers actually plummeted by nearly 20%.
It's just staggering.
Right. I mean, let that sink in for a second. The generation practically raised on tablets and chatbots, the ones you'd assume are, perfectly positioned to inherit the tech industry, they are actively losing ground.
Meanwhile, the headcount for older, senior developers actually continued to grow during that exact same window.
Exactly. And why is that? Because knowing how to write a polite prompt to a chatbot is completely useless if you don't understand how a business actually runs.
Yeah, the disconnect there really exposes a fundamental flaw in how the corporate world is currently thinking about modern work.
Right.
We assume that technological fluency just automatically equals workflow competence. And as the data clearly shows, it absolutely does not.
Welcome to the deep dive. I'm so glad you're joining us today because we are looking at a massive, largely hidden shift happening in the world of work right now.
It's changing everything.
It really is. So today's mission, we are unpacking what the AI-augmented workflow era means specifically for talent and staffing agencies.
Yeah, the intermediaries.
Right. And we're pulling our insights from three major heavyweight sources today. We've got the 2026 AI Index Report, the 2026 Enterprise Learning AI Readiness Gap Report, and some incredibly detailed strategic raw notes analyzing the changing business models of these staffing firms.
And, to really understand the existential threat facing staffing agencies right now, we first have to understand what's actually happening inside the companies they're trying to serve.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the readiness gap points out that most organizations right now are stuck in what it calls the surface wave.
The surface wave, yeah, I love that term.
I found this concept so fascinating. So it means you have high individual experimentation, right? Like maybe an employee uses an AI tool to summarize a 50-page PDF.
Or they use it to, clean up the grammar in an email to their boss.
Exactly. But there is zero fundamental change to the actual operating workflows of the business itself.
Right.
The company bought enterprise AI licenses for everyone, but the actual factory floor, so to speak, is still running on the old assembly line.
And that is the exact friction point.
Hmm.
Because a single employee using a tool to do a task 10 minutes faster, that's an isolated event.
Yeah, it doesn't move the needle for the whole company.
Exactly. The modern corporate market doesn't need people who just know how to open a chat window. It needs people who can orchestrate entire multi-step AI-augmented workflows.
Which goes back to the senior developers.
Right. That older software developer kept their job because AI automates the entry-level structured tasks like writing boilerplate code or running basic debugging scripts.
The easy stuff.
Yeah. But the younger worker lacks the experiential context. They haven't spent 10 years learning how the database actually interacts with the customer-facing app.
Oh, I see.
So they cannot use the AI to solve those complex, higher-level architectural problems.
The sources originally used an analogy here, saying an AI agent without skills data is like a Ferrari with no fuel.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
It is. But honestly, I think a better way to look at it is handing someone a professional carbon steel chef's knife.
Ooh, I like that.
Right. Because yes, an entry-level cook can slice a mountain of carrots significantly faster with that knife.
Sure.
But handing them a sharp knife doesn't mean they know how to run a Michelin star kitchen during a Friday night dinner rush. You still need the head chef who understands the timing of the entire kitchen.
The kitchen analogy captures the dynamic perfectly. Because AI changes tasks significantly faster than it eliminates jobs entirely.
Right, so the carrot chopping gets automated.
Exactly. The chopping gets automated, but the demand for kitchen orchestration just skyrockets. And, this brings us to the core of the crisis.
But wait, let me push back for a second, because if 4 in 5 university students use Gen AI, and we are just surrounded by these tools, why are employers reporting this massive training to employment translation problem? Like, why can't they find job-ready graduates?
Well, because if colleges and universities are graduating students who only know how to chop carrots, because, academic curriculum simply cannot iterate fast enough to keep up with the technology, then employers are left with this massive readiness gap.
Which means this isn't just some abstract economic theory. Like if you are listening to this right now and you are hiring or looking for a job or trying to manage a team, This readiness gap is exactly the friction you were feeling.
Oh, 100%.
It's the reason you have onboarding delays. It's why productivity is stalling even though everyone in your department has access to cutting-edge models.
Yeah, you're trying to plug traditionally trained people
Yeah.
into workflows that have fundamentally mutated.
Mutated, exactly. And when companies cannot find these workflow-ready candidates themselves, who do they call?
They call the staffing agencies, the talent intermediaries.
Right.
But the nature of what the client is demanding has completely inverted.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the Insight Global example from our strategic notes.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Insight Global is a massive staffing firm, and they recently announced plans to hire over 1,700 workers, specifically to handle AI tech demands.
Right.
But the data shows this is not just a standard hiring surge where they are trying to, fill empty desks.
No, not at all.
Hey.
A traditional staffing firm views its product as basically placing a human body into an open requisition.
Right, getting a warm body in a seat.
Exactly. It's a game of headcount matching. You need a data analyst. I search LinkedIn for the keyword data analyst. I send you 3 resumes, and I collect my fee.
But that model is dead.
Completely dead. Their actual product is shifting from headcount matching to capability matching.
Capability match.
Yes. Clients don't just want a person to fill a desk anymore. They are specifically asking for people who can operate in AI-augmented workflows, implement these complex tools, and basically translate abstract business needs into usable systems.
It's so ironic, really. Staffing agencies basically have to act like workforce transformation consultants now, just to ensure they don't place candidates who look good on paper but completely fail in real AI-augmented work.
Exactly.
But I have to challenge the financial reality of that shift. I mean, shifting from I am a matchmaker who forwards resumes to I am a workforce consultant who matches complex technical capability.
It requires a massive capital investment.
Massive. Can traditional staffing agencies even afford to completely overhaul their entire operating model like that?
Well, honestly, they cannot afford not to.
Yeah.
Because if a staffing agency's only value proposition is finding a resume that matches a keyword, algorithmic platforms already do that for pennies. The agency will just be disintermediated overnight. So to survive, they have to move aggressively up the value chain.
So what does this all mean for the business model? Like, how does an agency actually fix their product?
Our sources identify 5 critical, non-negotiable investments these agencies absolutely must make to survive.
Okay, let's avoid just listing these out like a textbook and actually look at how they connect in the real world.
Sure.
Let's say I am the director of a logistics company. I call up a staffing firm and I say, I need to hire 3 supply chain analysts. Under the old model, the agency says, great, we will find people with Excel and supply chain degrees. What happens now?
Under the new model, the agency has to step in before a job description is even drafted. That's the first major investment. Client advisory.
Client advisory, okay.
The agency has to act as a consultant to help you, the customer, redesign the role. They have to tell you, look, a supply chain analyst today doesn't sit in Excel. They need to manage predictive AI models that dynamically reroute shipments based on real-time weather data. The client often asks for a 2019 skill set to solve a 2026 problem.
They're essentially asking for a unicorn that doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
So the agency advises them to redesign the role. But that naturally requires them to have a completely different kind of data on the talent pool, right? Which is the second investment, skills intelligence.
Yes, skills intelligence. Moving beyond static resumes. Because resumes are historical documents. They tell you what someone did 3 years ago.
Right, which might be totally irrelevant now.
Exactly. Skills
Sure.
intelligence means moving to dynamic role-to-skill mapping. The agency needs a constantly updating database that tracks what specific capabilities are required today for a role heavily affected by AI.
Oh, wow.
And mapping candidates not by their past job titles, but by their current proven competencies.
But wait, how do you physically test for that? The standard behavioral interview, where a recruiter is like, tell me about a time you overcame a challenge, that is completely useless if I need to know whether a candidate can build a multi-agent system.
Completely useless.
And by the way, the AI index explicitly flags Landgraph orchestration and multi-agent systems as areas of massive exponential growth right now.
They absolutely are.
For you listening who might not be a software engineer, let's pause and actually explain what that means, because it is crucial to understanding this whole hiring problem.
Yeah, going back to your restaurant kitchen analogy, a multi-agent AI system is like having several specialized digital workers.
Okay.
One AI agent is the sous chef, looking at incoming data, say,
Yeah.
checking inventory levels. Another AI agent is the expediter, calculating delivery routes.
Right.
LangGraph is the underlying framework, acting as the head chef. It coordinates the timing, telling the inventory agent to wait until the route agent finishes its calculation before sending a final report to the human manager.
So it's basically talking to itself.
Yes, it orchestrates the flow of information between multiple AIs.
So you need candidates who know how to be the restaurant owner managing that entire digital kitchen.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the third investment, assessment infrastructure. An agency needs a sandbox environment to consistently evaluate a candidate's practical capability. Like, can they actually get the inventory AI and the routing AI to talk to each other without the whole system breaking down?
Right, the assessment infrastructure is what provides the proof.
Yeah.
But as you kind of brought up earlier, this creates a severe internal friction point for the agency itself.
Oh, right. Because you're potentially asking a 24-year-old recruiter, who maybe majored in communications, to assess a senior data architect's ability to orchestrate a LangGraph multi-agent system.
Yeah.
That is an impossible bottleneck. The recruiters themselves are suddenly wildly unqualified to do the recruiting.
Which forces the fourth critical investment, recruiter upskilling.
Ah, okay.
The entire capital structure of the staffing firm has to shift toward internal training. The recruiters do not need to become software engineers, right? But they absolutely must be trained to recognize workflow competence in candidates.
They need to know the right contextual questions to ask.
Exactly. To differentiate between someone who just relies on an AI code generator and someone who actually understands the system architecture.
And finally, the fifth investment is delivery analytics. You can't just place the candidate, collect your 20% fee, and vanish into the night.
No, those days are over.
The agency must track how the placed talent actually performs after the fact. Are they delivering the specific workforce outcomes the client needed?
So when you combine those five investments, client advisory, skills intelligence, assessment infrastructure, recruiter upskilling, and delivery analytics, the agency transforms.
It's a totally different business.
It is. And the sources note that the winning pitch for the surviving agencies will be walking into a client meeting and saying, here is the role, here is the skill profile, here is the readiness gap, and here's exactly how we will close it.
Wow, that is a completely different universe than simply forwarding 3 resumes.
Completely.
Okay, let's pivot to the human element. If an agency has built this incredible high-tech pipeline, what exactly are they screening for when the candidate walks through the door? Because we know it clearly goes far beyond just raw technical knowledge.
Yeah, the pipeline blueprint requires screening for a very specific intertwined set of traits. We've touched on prompt and workflow literacy, right?
Right.
Which is the ability to chain prompts together to achieve a business result.
Mm.
And role-specific performance, meaning executing the actual job in an AI-enabled environment.
Okay.
But the behavioral traits are where it gets really complex. Look at adaptability for one.
Right. But the one that really caught my eye in the research, and honestly, it terrified me a little bit, is the need to screen for judgment under AI assistance. The AI index highlights this phenomenon that is basically a long-term learning penalty. Like, if a worker relies too heavily on AI over a long period, their own judgment actively degrades.
Yes, cognitive atrophy.
Hmm.
It is a severe risk in the modern workplace. Because
Yeah.
when we allow a machine to do the hard analytical thinking for us day after day, our neural pathways for critical analysis actually begin to weaken.
We just stop thinking deeply about the problem.
Exactly.
It's like the GPS effect. You know, you use a GPS to drive around your own city for 5 years, and suddenly you realize you've completely forgotten how to navigate your own neighborhood without a screen telling you where to turn.
That is a perfect parallel. Because AI models will inevitably hallucinate, or they'll output something that makes, mathematical sense, but makes zero strategic business sense.
Right, it lacks context.
And if a worker blindly accepts the output without applying critical thinking, the business suffers. So recruiters have to screen for candidates who are essentially AI skeptics.
AI skeptics, I like that.
People who know how to use the tools to accelerate their work, but who know exactly when to push back, audit the output, and apply their own human expertise.
Which ties directly into another vital screening trait, documentation discipline. If you are auditing the AI, you have to prove it.
Well, the regulatory environment is forcing this. With new European Union regulations and all these global frameworks concerning AI, there are strict legal requirements for human oversight.
Especially in high-risk workflows, right? Like
Yeah.
an HR department using AI to screen resumes or a bank using AI to approve loans.
Yes, exactly. If a candidate is denied a job or a customer is denied a loan and the company is audited, they cannot just say, well, the AI told us to do it.
Right. The regulators will not accept that.
No, a human must be in the loop and capable of explaining the logic behind the decision. If an employee just clicks approve because the system prompted them to, the company is legally liable.
Oh,
Therefore, the staffing agency has to hire candidates who have the inherent discipline to document their work alongside the AI, ensuring there's always a transparent, auditable trail for human review.
and binding all of these traits together is the overarching need for sheer adaptability. Because the technology is iterating so rapidly that whatever specific software platform a candidate masters today, it might be completely obsolete in 8 months.
It probably will be.
Right. You aren't hiring for what they know right now. You are hiring for their proven capacity to learn the next iteration of the tool without suffering a total breakdown.
So we have established the crisis, the necessary investments, and the required candidate traits. The final piece of the puzzle is how the leadership of these talent agencies mentally processes this monumental shift.
Right. Because if I am the CEO of a staffing firm right now staring down this barrel, the temptation to just curl into a ball and cut costs has to be overwhelming. How do they need to orient their thinking?
The leadership mandate is reinvention, not reduction.
Reinvention, not reduction.
Exactly. If a CEO approaches this from a mindset of scarcity, assuming that AI is just going to shrink overall staffing demand, that robots will take the jobs and there will simply be fewer humans to place them.
They will inevitably underinvest.
Yes, they will try to weather the storm by tightening their belts.
And as we discussed earlier, if they don't make those capital investments, they get disintermediated by algorithms. It is a fatal error.
It is. Their actual core strategic question has to be, how do we remain the institution that clients absolutely trust when they desperately need talent that can work alongside AI, govern its use, and accelerate the client's own business transformation?
To make this incredibly concrete for you listening, whether you are running a staffing firm, building your own internal team, or just managing the trajectory of your own career, the sources break down this new leadership mindset into three core pillars that you really need to absorb into your own strategic planning.
Very important pillars.
Pillar number one, AI changes tasks faster than it eliminates jobs.
And we saw this vividly with the software developers. The entry-level coding tasks vanished, but the overall need for software engineering did not disappear.
Right. The job merely morphed into orchestration and architecture.
Leaders must constantly anticipate how tasks are shifting, rather than just waiting for entire job titles to be deleted.
Pillar number two, human judgment becomes more valuable, not less.
Because as AI completely commoditizes basic information retrieval and standard task execution, the premium shifts entirely to the human who can look at the AI's output, spot the hallucination, apply ethical and cultural context, and basically make the final strategic executive call.
The judgment is the only remaining differentiator.
Exactly.
And the third pillar, you must prove workforce outcomes, not just fill roles. The days of transactional recruiting are effectively over.
Over.
A staffing firm has to prove that the human capability they injected into the client's business actually solved the readiness gap and moved the needle on productivity.
The survival of the staffing industry hinges on abandoning the body-in-a-seat model entirely. They must evolve into highly precise, consultative, capability matching engines.
Wow. Let's take a breath and recap this journey we have been on today. We started by looking at the illusion of AI readiness, right? The staggering reality that while 88% of companies have adopted the tools, very few employees actually know how to orchestrate them within a complex workflow.
Yeah, AI isn't just a shiny calculator you hand to an employee on their first day. It is a disruptive force that fundamentally rewires the nature of the workflow itself.
And we saw that for the staffing agencies caught in the middle, this is an adapt or die moment. They have to upgrade their assessments, heavily upskill their own recruiters, and act as true strategic advisors to their clients, helping them remap their entire capability structures.
Which is no small feat.
No, it's not. Which
Yeah.
raises a massive forward-looking question for you to mull over as we wrap up. If these staffing agencies actually manage to pull this off, right? If they successfully make this pivot, invest the capital, master skills intelligence, and become the ultimate data-driven arbiters of how humans and AI work together in optimal workflows, do they eventually transcend being recruiters altogether?
I mean, think about the implications of that. If a firm is the one mapping the dynamic skills, assessing the practical AI capabilities in sandbox environments, advising clients on how to redesign their roles.
And continuously tracking the analytics of those workforce outcomes.
Could the staffing agency of the future effectively replace traditional management consulting firms?
Wow. They would hold the actual keys to the human AI capability data. They wouldn't just be finding people to fill the boxes on a company's org chart. They would be the ones drawing the boxes in the first place.
They become the actual architects of a company's organizational design.
It completely redefines their place in the corporate ecosystem.
It really does.
That is a wild, fascinating thought to end on. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. The machine traditional hiring isn't just broken, it has been replaced by a completely different imaging system, one that looks deep into workflows, practical capabilities, and human adaptability.
Absolutely.
We highly encourage you to take these insights back to your own desk this week. Look at your own team's workflows through this new capability-driven lens. Are you just handing out chef's knives, or are you actually building a Michelin star kitchen? Until next time.